Heard like that.
Ah, we are live like this, right? Hello, everybody. We are back with the Dare Dialogues. After a semi-disastrous first episode where we almost lost Sonia, we will talk about that later, hopefully. We're back, and
Yay!
this time we are going to be on Mount Stupid. Sounds weird, right? But you've been on it. I'm sure you have been. So how do we start? Maybe we should reflect back a little bit on last week, Sonia.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And we're not going to go into the detail how I was lost in the Dutch countryside and soaking wet and couldn't get in my car and all of that. Thank you too for caring. I appreciated that you considered calling emergency services. Yeah, I think it was fascinating because we had thought about the format and we had this idea of let's just do it. Let's embrace that we'll learn as we go along. And I really appreciated the feedback we got. Lots of positive feedback on the idea of walking around, right? Um, but then also some feedback that we heard loud and clear that maybe it wasn't as structured as it could have been. I think that's how one of our British viewers phrased it, which, if I translate that into Dutch German, is you guys were all over the place, right?
I've called it a
Um,
dumpster fire, essentially.
fair, right? And then, and then, why did you guys not dare? And that was interesting, right? Because we had the intention of saying the hard things, and then it was a little intimidating doing that in the first
Yeah,
episode. So we
did we
gotta have.
really rant? Not
We
really,
did
right?
not rant,
Leonie
right?
did a bit.
Yeah,
Did I?
yeah.
Oh, well, let's do better this time.
Let's do better this
Exactly.
time. That's right. Where are you guys, by the way?
Oh yeah, I was supposed to say that. You just told me. Okay,
I know
so
this.
I'm actually I'm in the south of France, where at any minute now the sky can turn black and hail will fall. But for now it's nice and blue. So Leonie, where are you?
I'm in Hilversum, close to Amsterdam, in the Netherlands.
Sonia?
Sonja?
Oh yeah, I should say that too. I'm in a nature. I'm back in a nature reserve, in the very north of windy Holland, and Leonie knows my exact location in case something
Well,
happens
yeah,
here.
we need to know this time. We cannot lose you again.
I'll find you.
Come on. Thank you.
Yeah. So, we agreed that we would actually take a dare topic this time.
Yes.
And let me introduce the dare topic. Well, we called it Mount Stupid. And it sounds a bit harsh, right? Like it sounds not very nice to call someone stupid or something stupid. But it's a bit, I'd almost compare it to the wonderful title of the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It sounds harsh too, but when you get into it, it's actually really, it's a really kind and well thought through term. So
It doesn't
Mount
sound
Stupid,
very kind.
Yeah,
that's
let's revisit
okay.
kind.
If you
But
understand
it
it, it might be.
makes sense, right?
It
Yeah.
makes sense. It makes a ton of sense. And actually, the harshness is just to get your attention.
Exactly.
Um, so Mount Stupid is part of the Dunning-Kruger model, which is a mental bias that people have based on their level of competence versus their level of confidence.
Mhm.
So, as people grow more competent and they grow more confident at the same time, that's a really nice and gradual development. But in the case of the of this model, the, the thing is that people misinterpret what they can do because they don't know what they don't know. So the
Yes.
less competent you are, the more confident you are in this model, which creates a situation where you think you know shit when you don't. And that exact spot is called Mount Stupid because you're ignorant.
Which means that's where I was when I invited you both to do this. And
Well,
then didn't realize
actually,
we actually had to prep a little bit. And
I
you
think
guys
actually,
you
said yes
weren't. I
also.
think we might have been.
Yes.
Tell
So
me
the
more,
question
Sonia.
is, so the question is, Tim, you having been this public speaker and having recorded tons of videos, live and not live, and Sonia and I being pretty new to the game, did you realize when you asked us to do this together that we were on Mount Stupid when we said, yeah, sure, how hard can it be?
Oh, not even close. That's why I was on
No?
Mount Stupid. No,
Oh,
Oh,
I was like, oh, these two? Oh, we're good. Immediately, fine. No prep, run. Did you remember? I posted this on LinkedIn. I didn't even put our names on.
yeah, yeah,
And it
yeah.
kind of
right.
worked, though. That's the problem, right? It kind of worked. And then you do it and you're like, oh, we
Yeah,
focused a bit on the technology, so we look good like this. But
right,
then the rest we didn't really think about. And this is a very
right.
interesting thing that I have had before, where I don't know. I think I probably did 400 or 500 videos, hundreds of live streams, all that stuff. So I have this experience, right?
Yeah,
And then sometimes when you know people relatively well, like we've seen each other in real life and we talk quite a lot, and then you think, let's go, fine. And I've had this before with others, like one time specifically, where we basically have we're the people with the same job. So we thought, let's make some videos together. It's going to be we knock it out of the park. It's horrible, horrible, because it doesn't like this is Mount Stupid is so easy to get to, because I really didn't consider that people might have different styles, different ways of coming to a conclusion, different ways to
Mhm.
communicate what they want. And so yeah, that was a really good explanation of Mount Stupid is basically me. But you
so
guys
so
a little bit.
even so
You
even
know,
in
the
a
thing is
terrain.
also,
Go ahead.
the thing is also though, after Mount Stupid, when you realize what you don't know, you go into what officially is called the valley of despair, right?
Oh yeah.
When you have this feeling of, oh my God, this is all so hard. I'll never be able to do that. I was firmly in that for a few days since the last episode, right?
Oh
But then it
really?
gets better as you learn. Like
Yeah.
if you get yourself through that valley of despair and you come up onto what's that called? Slope of enlightenment, Gartner
Yeah,
calls it. I
yeah,
don't know
yeah,
what the official
Oh
term
oh
is.
really? That
yeah, yeah.
that's
It
a
is
that's
slope
a
of enlightenment.
Gartner thing.
No, the Dunning-Kruger model, Gartner, we can talk about it a little later, hijacked a
Oh
little for
yeah.
their hype cycle. Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. I wondered this thing about. Oh boy, this might be a little feisty, but I'm going to ask it because this is the Dare Dialogues.
Oh.
So, in my work as especially a tech person, selling technology or working with it and buying it,
Mm.
everybody always goes with the gardeners and the foresters of this world. I'm going to look at where it is in the quadrant, and then we're just going to buy this thing.
Mhm.
How much Mount Stupid is there at Gartner when they put it in the quadrant?
Oh boy, oh boy, boy.
But
That's
this is a,
another episode. Can we
I
hold
know,
that
but
one?
this is, oh, of course. But I do want to give the context of asking this as a developer, not
Mm.
as a business analyst or a product person, but as a developer. Like, because there's different concepts of how developers think versus brand people, for example. But we
Mhm.
can leave this one for another episode because it's kind of feisty, isn't it?
But
It's
what
very
is really
feisty.
what would be really interesting to to bring up why we care about Mount Stupid and why we
Yes.
run up to it, run into it in our
Mhm.
daily work. And I think I think you bridged that perfectly, Tim, when you said, although you have had done all these videos and you have so much experience, super close to where you are very comfortable, you
Yep.
will run again into a situation where you thought you had it, but you didn't.
Yeah,
Um,
Exactly.
I have an
and
example of that.
huh, go ahead.
Oh,
Can I go?
go, go. Yes.
So I think the thing that got the three of us together was the Mark Alliance, right?
Yes.
And actually, I was majorly on Mount Stupid when we were looking to launch the Mark Alliance initially, because what I thought was going to be hard was that anybody would care and getting people on board who would want to join as well and setting up this nonprofit org and all the paperwork and all the legal stuff. So I knew that was going to be hard. So I got
Yeah.
experts in but then I've been a product marketer for like 10 years and more before. So I figured launching this thing, we got that, right? And then it was 6 weeks before the launch. And I thought maybe we need some branding, maybe some press release. We'll whip that up, right? So I called Leonie. I know. So I called Leonie and I was like, yeah, we've got this crazy idea. Got all the paperwork done. We want to launch at Shop Talk. Can you help us? And then Leonie, how many line items did you have in the list of questions you sent to us? Like,
Well, yeah, there were a list of questions, but the line items was more like things to
this is what needs
prepare
to happen? Yes.
before we launch.
Boom. Valley of despair. Like, I
120
had
line
to
items, like yeah.
crazy stuff, right? Now, luckily, I had Leonie, but I should have known, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
but
wasn't
do you think?
entirely incompetent in launching stuff, and I didn't, or I didn't think of it.
But do you think
Right.
it also affected your budget long term that you didn't think about this and it had to all be done in 6 weeks? Or was Leonie kind
Luckily,
enough to just have it the same?
No, no,
so two
no.
things happened. Two things happened. We luckily had sufficient budget for what Leonie regarded minimum viable. And then what also happened is we were very aware of what we needed in order to make this great. And then the pandemic happened. Remember, we couldn't launch at Shop Talk. We had to wait until 2 months, 3 months later. And by that time, so many other companies wanted to join that we could actually fund the launch as we had to, so that it would actually be meaningful and impactful. So had we launched at Shop Talk, maybe it wouldn't have been as amazing as it was
Right.
launching in
There you
June.
go. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
There you go.
So when we think about like Leonie, who's driving by? That's a scooter or something. No,
Scooter.
so Leonie, you were talking about a thing that's called, I forgot the word, but it has effect in it. Can you explain that a little bit?
It has effect in it.
Wait, let me look
I
at
don't
my.
remember. Was it was it the attribution effect?
No, wait, let me check. Let me check.
So we started talking about why we care about Mount Stupid so much and why we run into it. And that is, ignorance is perfectly fine. I am ignorant on a lot of things, and everybody is, which is perfect. But once something that you have a level of ignorance about becomes part of your work success, then it becomes prominent, and it becomes something you or people around you will actually notice. And
Yeah,
we
exactly.
and that, I think that is where it gets interesting. So where do you notice it in your own work life, and where do you notice it with the people around you? So if you meant the attribution effect, it is so you don't know that you're on Mount Stupid until you're no longer on Mount Stupid. Like, so you're
Yes.
ignorant. That is also a nice concept, right? Like, it's great to be there. You're ignorant and you're not aware, which is part of it. The minute you become aware, you've actually fallen off the mount and start to see what you didn't know. Um, when you then learn new things, and then you think too quickly that you're now an expert, then you're up again in Mount Stupid. So
Yes.
you
Yes.
have
Or
to be.
that, and it gets even more pronounced when you realize, oh, there's a lot of stuff I don't know, and you get an expert in to help you, and the expert tells you what to do. And then the attribution bias is when things are going well, it's because I did it. When things are going bad, it's because someone else screwed up, right? That's the typical thing we humans tend to look at the world. So an
I
expert
think it.
tells you what to do, and then you think it is your success. You say goodbye to the expert and whoop, back up Mount Stupid.
I think at one
Fascinating
point
concept.
in my career, I was so far up Mount Stupid, I was annoyed by the experts.
Well, that
Yes,
happens.
And I let me
I
just
feel
make.
that
I can
often.
talk. Yeah, this is the thing, right? Because we're in like, if you're part of the Mac Alliance, you're like at the top 5% of that space. So you kind of assume you know things. And so maybe I can make it slightly more something people can relate to if you're like a slight, well, it doesn't have to be just a technical person, but I used to work on all these huge brands and we would make websites for them. And as a developer that has have done that up until that time, let's say 10, 15 years, you kind of know what the outcome will be for certain things like a form or a checkout or booking a plane ticket. You kind of have built enough of them to say, this is probably good. And then you get so annoyed with UX people and people who are super experienced in, well, experienced design, that they go through all the things to actually learn what makes people tick and click that box and buy something. And so I would always kind of just ignore them, build the thing, and they would catch up with whatever they had done, and it would kind of line up. And I had the luck of that happening like 5 times for huge customers. But you don't realize if you don't think about all the things and go over all those processes, I couldn't answer a single question of a customer. I just said, yeah, I knew it. But that means nothing. You lose trust. And also, if you're not that lucky and it goes wrong, you don't know why it went wrong. And you don't do anything innovative because you always build the same thing that you know kind of works. And now I'm not really doing that kind of work anymore. And I see it happen all around me with people that are quite
Yes.
senior. And you almost don't realize how much privilege you have as a guy like me with a beard in his 30s that says, this is it, with a certain voice. And it just happens. Holy crap, Mount Stupid is all over the place. It's everywhere.
Well, yeah, and to Leonie's point, you have expertise now that allows you to spot when others are on Mount Stupid.
Yes.
But then the challenge is, what do you do about that?
I'm just,
Right? So
there's a lot
do
of
you call
hill
it
at the
out?
moment.
Let's make that a dare. Do we call it out?
Right. So I personally appreciate when people tell me I am on Mount Stupid, right? It's nice if they do it with kindness, but I appreciate it. Do
And
you, Tim?
actually, oh,
Do folks that are listening, do you want us to tell you?
Yeah, this is the thing. Is it culturally based? Because, for example, I'm Dutch, right? So, and this is a bit, sounds a bit black and white, but we tend to separate the feelings from the facts a little bit. So when somebody gives me a fact, that is, you spelled that name wrong or whatever, I was like, okay, we fix it. I don't feel too bad.
no.
But if you're in France, where I live now, everybody's a philosopher. Everybody's feelings are in everything that they've built. So when you point out that mistake, you step on their heart, literally.
Right.
So you have to address it in a different way, I think. But I guess the more senior you get, the more you appreciate it. I'm hoping.
Well, and I think let's challenge that a little bit because I think the people that struggle most with wanting or being open to realize they don't know things are people that are super smart and are used to the fact that they know shit.
True.
On the other hand, I have to say, and Sonia is a good example of that. If you're open, well, I know, if you're open to realizing, oh wow, I didn't know that, like with the Mac Alliance example, then actually then you grow extremely fast, and I think you'll be more successful over time than the
Yeah.
people that were super smart to start with and felt super privileged and know-it-alls.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's especially hard when you are like a CEO or a founder and people are used to sucking up to you, right? You're amazing, you're fantastic. Um,
But
people
then
don't
also your
dare to
words have
tell you
weight.
sometimes.
Yeah. And then if you're this ignorant and you are a founder or a CEO or someone high up, your words have real weight and you completely influence your whole system that works for you.
Yeah.
And I think when I hear all this stuff, it kind of boils down to something quite simple, I guess. People who are watching this could maybe also try. Like, if you're quite junior, you tend to solve problems and you say, hey, I solved the problem. But then you talk to somebody who's more senior, it's like, no, you solved a problem.
Right.
That's a
Yes.
huge difference. And so
Yes.
Yeah.
when you think about that, you can apply that to code, you can apply that to launching a product, to other things. And maybe that's what keeps you off Mount Stupid. Or my question to
Exactly.
you both is: do you have to go over Mount Stupid to actually get better? You need to be there, maybe.
It's okay to
In
be
my,
there
go ahead, Lynn.
as long as you're willing to come off and
Yeah,
either listen to the people who know or read 3 books over the weekend and really invest fast and hard.
Yeah,
exactly.
and I
Invest
think
fast
I
and hard.
think the question is also, I think you need to come off a little bit and you need to feel some pain in order to be open for the question of, okay, so how hard is this actually? And have faith that an expert that you have to trust actually does know better,
Right.
and embrace the fact that what you thought, how hard can this be, might actually involve a lot more work. And often the sign that someone is not ready is when they push back right away and say, oh, this is like way too complicated. Like, and don't ask, why do you
Mm.
feel this is necessary? What happens if I don't do this? And if that chain of thinking isn't there, chances are they're not ready. They're not ready for advice. They're not ready to be helped into that enlightenment.
The sentence that I see as a flag of someone being on Mount Stupid and not owning up to it yet is when they say, let's not over engineer this when you have just shown them how it should
I
work.
love that one.
They think like, oh my, it cannot be all these things. It cannot be that.
Yeah.
And so, with that in mind, have any of you both, or maybe even in the chat, ever been to a situation that I like to call the come to Jesus meeting, where you actually have to tell somebody you're like on the summit right now, you have to come down because it's not going to work. We're not going live next week. Has that happened before? Or to you, perhaps?
I I yes.
Same.
Um, let me think about a way of saying that in an anonymized way. Um, I think when someone approaches you and says, we're really having a challenge with getting our core messaging and differentiation across, and nobody understands what we're saying. And then you give them different words and different models and different ways to articulate not something new, of course not, but their core position, their core messaging. And they come back with, but you're basically saying the same thing, you're just saying it in other words,
Isn't that
right?
what you asked? But okay.
Fair. But that's when I do need to have, and I have at times, this conversation. And like you said, remind me, what was your challenge? Remind me, how did you want to come out of that challenge, right? So, and I do try to do it in a way that is not alienating and not rude as much as I can, but there needs to be an element of, if you do not see the value in this, I don't think I can help you, right? And yeah, that's not a fun conversation to have as an advisor, Tim.
No, you can almost like I hark this back to like being in university to become a nurse. And what you learn, I did that 20 years ago. And then what you learn is bad news delivery. Because imagine you have to tell somebody they have cancer.
Mhm.
There are certain tactics you have to follow to not be a complete asshole,
Yeah.
right? And this really helps in this type of situations, right? Feedback discussions are huge.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Did you
So
have
when,
moments like this, Leonie, where you had to say, dude, woman?
well, yes, and I think it is the biggest challenge a consultant has. Um, and I have them a lot because you have to go, you have to also give and take a little bit, because if I'm applying my standard 100%, then you know they will always see that as over engineering. But if I go back too much to what they would accept, because of not knowing, it would just not be good enough. Um, so I think it's part of what you have to deal with and what you have to talk about, but realizing that this is where someone is. Um, and I would just really love it for the other people to see it when they are there. And I try to see it when I'm there. I tried to learn to swim 10 years ago, and I thought, how hard can it be? I'll just do the city swim in Amsterdam, 2 kilometers in the canals. I can swim, I won't drown. But I realized in the practice for that, I won't drown, but I can't really swim. It's 10 years later, and I'm still taking swim training, and I'm still a lousy
Wow.
swimmer.
There
Um,
you go.
but you have to, you know, I wish if the dare for me of today would be look at yourself, look at the moments in your professional life when you think how hard can it be, and investigate if that is Mount Stupid. Ask an expert to find out, and share it with us if you want.
Oh
I would
yeah,
love
I'd
that.
love to know. Yeah,
And I think maybe we should share an example as well in this next week if we come up with one.
exactly. So do we like we wrote down like the dare of the day, which is today. And so we wrote paradoxical becoming aware. So that
Right.
means you have to go to the summit and then come down. I'm afraid
Absolutely.
that's how it's going to have to be. Nobody's perfect.
Right. So if you're there, you won't see it. So it's a bit of a Schrödinger cat as well. You
Oh
have to
yeah.
open the fridge to see if the light's on. So
Or
do
if the
that.
cat is dead or not.
If the
Yeah,
cat is dead,
exactly.
yes, totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So I think we're coming up to our end, but I feel like Sonia had something to say still. Go.
How do you know that? I
I've
was
done this
just
a few
thinking,
times.
can we make a case also for Mount Stupid very quickly? Because I do think there is also, in the right situations, beauty in the ignorance of how hard it is. I think there's many entrepreneurs, there's many um, erfinder, people who invent stuff. Oh, inventors, there we go.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't have started on their
Right,
mission had they had any idea how
right.
painful it would have been, right? So I do think the critical point is that when you're sensing this is really critical for my business, just as an insurance policy, ask someone you believe you can trust that is an expert just to make sure, right? Um, because once you are at a certain size in your business, you can't afford that mentality anymore. But I don't want to dismount stupid entirely,
No,
as it
and
has
I am on
strengths
Mount
too.
Stupid all the time. And if I wasn't, I wouldn't start the things that I start because if you know up front how painful they're going to be, there's no way you
Mhm.
do it.
Yeah, and Sonia, you just nuanced this whole half hour by just previous answer you gave, which
Was
is
that
kind of
wrong?
fun. No, it was great because it made me think about like I used to work for this super high fashion luxury brand, and there would be like a creative director, the president of this company, that would just stand firm. This is good, and there's literally nothing you can say. And then sometimes when you then follow that, it is actually good. Not always. When you think about technology versus design, all this stuff. And so that's the one end where that generally works if you're good at your job. So that's kind of knowing you're on Mount Stupid and then like screw it, I'll stay here. It can work. But then on the other hand, I've been in this place where I would pitch something and they would have an external person or a whole of Accenture come in to see if your pitch is actually good. And then they would say yes after they give them 100K and then you do your project. I've done that and that happened. And that was like a very annoying Mount Stupid. So there's nuance in what type of Mount Stupid you can be on.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I
Maybe
guess
with that
also,
bombshell, it's done for today. Or
yeah,
go, go, go.
no, I think the dare is also when you see someone else on Mount Stupid and you know they're going to get themselves into trouble, approach it in a kind way.
Actually, we have Matthias in our chat, who I used to work with at Valtech.
Huh.
Nice to see you,
Hey,
dude.
Matthias.
Hello, Matthias.
Anyways, right as we're about to close, Are there any last parting words, Leonie and Sonia, from you, both of you?
I'd love from hear from folks if we were a little more structured right now, and
Yes.
what they
Was
would
it
love us to talk about.
and was it daring enough? Like, is this a good dare? Like, dare to share your Mount Stupid?
Oh yeah, I love to see the Mount Stupid of people. Imagine if a lot of people shared their Mount Stupid and we wrote like a little PDF and just sent it around to all the startups.
Love it.
Pretty cool.
Love it.
Like in content mode right
And
away.
and just to make sure, if you want to feel safe, you want to share your Mount Stupid, but not your name on the PDF that Tim just mentioned. That's also fine.
Exactly.
Yeah, just
Why did I
DM
say
it.
PDF? It's so old school. I work at a
Yeah, yeah.
It
CMS,
is.
for God's sake.
Yes.
Yeah,
Anyways,
it's okay.
it is what it
We'll
is.
create a page.
Exactly. We did some sort of page. So thank you everybody for watching, but also both Leonie and Sonia, where we spent a lot more time in actually structuring this thing. It felt good. We didn't lose anyone. I only had hail on me twice.
Oh,
I'm all right.
didn't even see that.
Well,
You took
I
that
was
with so much
sheltering.
grace.
Oh well, I was sheltering in one of the farms. You'll see it back when you watch it
Oh,
back at one point. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, everyone. This half
yes.
hour went flew by, which
Yeah.
is good stuff. And so we'll be back in 2 weeks. And I don't think we have a subject yet, right?
No,
Do we?
No.
but I'll be in France, Tim.
Nice.
Yes.
I'll be on staycation in France.
There you go.
All right. Everybody, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
See you all. Bye.
Oh, yeah.